Good morning, everyone. We're going to get started with our committee meetings before we're going to get started with finance first. So members, remember we're being streamed live, so you'll need to turn your mic on when you speak. And Regent Solomon, please call your committee to order, sir.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to call the Finance Committee to order and ask Matthew LaBriere to please call the roll.
Regent Solomon.
I am right here.
Regent Levy. Regent David.
Here.
Regent May. Regent Perez.
Here.
Regent Seal. Regent Williams-Brown.
Here.
Supervisor Hardy. Supervisor Warner.
Here.
Supervisor Tarver. You have a quorum, sir.
Awesome. Thank you, Matthew. We'll move on to item number 3, the review and acceptance of the fiscal year 22-23 operating budgets. I want to thank everyone on this board and from the systems for participating in a really informative and engaging budget hearing process yesterday. It's always so good to hear from the systems directly, and for all the engagement we get from the Finance Committee and the board at large. Matthew, will you please proceed with your presentation regarding the operating budgets?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Regent Solomon. As Regent Solomon stated, we had a very good day yesterday in finance. We heard from all 4 systems, LOSFA, LUMCON, Commissioner Jay Darden, and legislative economist Deborah Vivian on the revenue and budget outlook for this year, next year, and moving forward. The budget discussions focused on enrollments and any concerns there, the requests, the needs for next fiscal year, capital and deferred maintenance needs, and discussions about plans that systems are instituting to make sure that students complete. The slide that's in front of you is a recap of where we were in June with the allocation for all means of finance in higher education. I do want to point out that the State General Fund and statutory dedications together as state funds is the largest increase that we've had in the history of higher education at $159 million, and that's another part of what that conversation focused on yesterday. In addition, this next slide is a review of some of the big highlights that we had. We had faculty pay increases that the system president spoke on yesterday about how they allocated them and what the percents were, the increase in specialized institutions, mandated cost increases, the largest GO grant increase in program history, formula increases, and Title IX funding. In addition to that, for statutory dedications, there were large increases in training programs for the 2-year institutions with $25 million for healthcare, $10 million for reboot, and $10 million for broadband training. In addition, the full funding of Foster Scholars, the new adult scholarship program, and funds for accreditation and innovation at Regents, as well as the HERO Fund, which is also for healthcare needs. And so this slide is the breakdown of funding at each system that shows how that general fund, statutory dedications, and all other means of finance is allocated by system. So with that, Mr. Chairman, senior staff recommends that the Board of Regents accept the fiscal year 2022-2023 operating budgets, and I want to state that this does conclude the budget development process for fiscal year 22-23. Next month, we will be bringing the request for fiscal year 23-24 for higher ed.
Great. Thank you, Matthew. Before we move on, I just want to acknowledge Matthew and Elizabeth and the finance team at large for all the good work this fiscal year, all the engagement with the systems. So thank you so much for all that you all put into it. It's a lot to manage, and you do it in a stellar way. So you've heard senior staff's recommendation. Is there a motion to approve the fiscal year 22-23 operating budgets? Thank you, Regent Perez. Motion by Regent Perez. Is there a second?
Second.
By Regent David. Any discussion or any questions, or did we have plenty of that yesterday? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Hearing that, the motion passes.
All right. And we have no other business to come before the committee.
All right. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you, Regent David. Second? We are, any discussion? Everyone good to adjourn? And we are adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Just told y'all, talking to the mic. Okay. Next up is the Facilities and Property Committee. Regent Meir, please call your committee to order, sir.
Thank you, Chairman Temple. We'll go ahead and call Facilities and Property Committee to order. Chris, can you please call a roll?
Yes, sir. Regent Meir,
Present.
Regent Levy, Regent Ewing, Regent McDonald, Regent Weil, Regent Lowbray,
Here.
Supervisor Tarver, Supervisor Hardy, and Supervisor Werner. We have a quorum.
Great. We'll start with agenda item number 3, which is the Act 959 project for Suella.
Yes, sir. Again, Act 959 allows institutions to pursue projects up to $5 million as long as it's not funded with state capital outlay dollars or deferred maintenance money. So this is a project to replace the HVAC system in Suella's Charleston building. The project originated from Hurricanes Laura and Delta as a replacement of the internal controls, HVAC controls. And once the engineers and everybody got into it, it was determined that it would make more sense to just replace the entirety of the system within that building. So they identified $2 million in higher education emergency relief dollars that is going to the overall system replacement, and the proceeds from Laura and Delta will cover the controls work that was originally planned. So it will replace a system that's about 45 years old, consisting of 44 units serving all types of class and lab space within the building. I'd be happy to answer any questions, and if not, we recommend approval.
Thank you, Chris. Are there any questions regarding this item? Hearing none, can I get a motion to approve? I have a motion and a second to approve this item. Any discussion or questions? All in favor say aye. Any opposition? Ayes have it. We'll go ahead and move on to other business. Chris has been on the road visiting campuses around the state so for the last 2 weeks. So he's going to give us an update.
Yes, sir. As of today, I've been to 13 campuses around the state and all corners of the state, and have a few more visits lined up over the next few weeks, as well as trying to iron out a few other locations. So I'll be sure to update everybody if new sites come on board. But we've had great attendance from the management boards and the local legislative delegations for many of the campuses. It's been real beneficial to have those folks out there to be able to allow them to see the progress that our schools are making, but as well as the needs that remain. So I would encourage any of you to attend any upcoming visits, and I'll be happy to resend the schedule if need be and keep everyone updated as to any more that are coming up.
Great. Is there any other business to come before this committee? Hearing none, can I get a motion to adjourn? Motion. Anyone? A motion, a second to adjourn Facilities and Property. Thank you.
Thank you, Regent Meir. Moving right along, next up is Academic and Student Affairs Committee. Regent David, please call your committee to order, sir.
Thank you, Chair Temple. We'll call it to order, and Dr. David, you call the roll.
Yes, sir. Regent David.
Here.
Regent Finley.
Here.
Regent Pryor.
Here.
Regent Solomon.
Here?
Regent Sterling.
Here.
Regent Williams-Brier.
Here.
Regent LeBray.
Here.
LCTCS representative.
Here.
LSU representative.
Here.
Southern representative.
Here.
And UL system representative is, I believe, absent. You have a quorum, sir.
Thank you, Dr. David. Let's move right to the consent agenda. Why don't you have that?
Yeah, so today we have just 3 or 4 routine name changes, but also as part of the consent agenda today is the renewal of our NC Sarah membership. So this is a compact between the 4 regional compacts, SREB, NEBHE, MHEC, and WICHE, which really allows, by being part of this compact, it allows our institutions to be able to offer distance learning all across all of the other 49 states, District of Columbia, and the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico, so all of those other members of the NC Sarah family. So certainly, we very much recommend that we, every 2 years, we have to go through that renewal of our membership. It's just a standard thing that each of the membership states do, and so we're recommending that we do that as part of our consent agenda today.
All right, thank you. Members, you've heard the recommendation. Is there a motion to approve the items on the consent agenda?
So moved.
And a second? Second. All righty. Any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, motion passes. All righty, and now we're going to move on to item 4, the 2022 academic planning.
Thank you, sir. So if you'll remember, just about a year ago in October, the board took action to change the way in which we approached approval of new degree programs across all of our systems. And then in April, we brought to you some recommendations as to how that process would change, which you were nice enough to approve. The process that our campuses have been through this first time out is now to create this first time 1-year academic plans. In future years, at this meeting, I will present not 1-year academic plans, but 3-year academic plans. The programs which each campus are intending to bring to you as full proposals for your consideration in this coming year, and then programs that they are, if you will, contemplating for a year, a year further out, 2 year, and then programs that they are maybe dreaming about that are 3 years out. So that way, for the very first time, we actually have an overall picture of the way in which our campuses are going about the work of gradually refining and curating the portfolio of degrees that they have across their institution and across our state. Just to put it in perspective, up until now, degrees arrive one by one, drop by drop, that they are proposed independently, they come to you independently, and so I'm sure that over the years you found it perhaps a little frustrating about, well, I don't see how this degree fits with that degree, or I don't see where it is we're going, and there's reason for that, because we really haven't had the opportunity up until now to have that overall picture. Well, what's also the case is we haven't had up until now not only what that picture looks like, but an opportunity to shape it. And so, as things stand, and this is not unusual across the country, the way in which new degree programs have arrived here to this body is the process of a faculty member on a campus who has a good idea, and they gradually bring that through, and it comes to us for consideration. But by doing it that way, we have to sort of wait until a faculty member has the idea to be able to create a program which meets a state need. And so, as part of this academic planning process, I hope you'll see there is a real opportunity now for this body and for the higher education community in our state, in partnership with Louisiana Economic Development and all of the state agencies, to now begin to have a much greater understanding of how together we can shape the degree portfolios that are available to our students across the state. So where we are right now is that this year all of our campuses have been through this initial process of, on the one hand, creating a 1-year academic plan. There are 52 degree programs that they have listed that they are intending to bring forward in the coming year for your consideration and approval. They also have been through their existing degree portfolio to see whether there are existing degrees that they now see they don't meet their intended need anymore, that they need to be phased out or terminated. And as part of this action today, I'll be recommending the termination of 15 degrees across our institutions, because they simply have reached the end of their useful life. 15, yes, sir. And I'll list them as part of the presentation. And then lastly, we have done an assessment of where recently approved degree programs are in the evolution of their life. And again, each year we bring to you an ongoing progress report about those new degrees, and we will be recommending that some of those degrees have they've reached the level of maturity where we need to let them move on and no longer need to have that report. So what I want to do is to talk through the process then that we've gone through to look at those academic plans. As I say, there are 52 new degree programs that are planned to be presented to you. And what we've done is to do an analysis of how it is that those new degree programs might fit with the talent development pipeline that together we're trying to build across our state. We have taken those degrees. We have asked for input from the academic leaders across our institutions and across the systems, and also from Louisiana Economic Development. And those plans have been presented to all of the 4 system management boards. And we very much thank all of those bodies for the work that they've done. I personally certainly want to recognize all of the work of the 4 chief academic officers of the 4 systems. They've been tremendous partners in this work. It is, as I say, brand new and somewhat novel across the nation, and so the spirit in which they've taken that work on to do this kind of level of planning, I think, is really very well worth recognizing, and again, I very much thank them for that. So what we've done then is to do that work. And then what we've done here in the system office is to carry out a gap analysis to see, well, in what way do those degrees that are being proposed, being planned, in what way do they meet the most compelling need for greater capacity across our state? As you might imagine, there are all kinds of needs that we have across the state for additional occupation capacity. And so what are the places where there is the most compelling need, and how might we then use that information both now and in the future to inform the kinds of new degrees which we might together try to build. And so what I want to do is to at least show you the way in which we've gone about that analysis. Now, I very much want to recognize that we have a new tool to do this work. So there is a company that we partnered with called Lightcast that provides real-time job data, real-time hiring data, real-time job application data, and forecast data as to what kinds of occupations are and will be forecast to be in demand in different regions across the state and across the nation. And so we've really been able to use that as part of the tools for doing this work. What I've done is to really sort of triangulate that idea of demand, the most compelling demands. The triangulation goes like this, that first of all, look at the real-time job postings. What occupations, what jobs are out there right now where there are lots more job positions than there are hires that are being made, right? Lots more demand than our ability to be able to fill it. And I've already shown you at some previous meetings some examples of that, where we know, for instance, only 2 in 5 of the jobs advertised in cybersecurity are currently able to be filled because of the capacity needs that we have. So that real-time job posting versus hires data. Similarly, what kinds of occupations are we seeing an acceleration of demand, right? So there are occupations which are just sort of steadily growing, and they will, as we might imagine, just as time evolves, but there are others where it's just taken off. And so, well, which ones are those, and how do they comport with the ones where I just said we're not able to fill that current demand? And then lastly, are there occupations where, as we look at the people who are actually filling those jobs right now, we see that only a smaller proportion than we might have expected receive their education from institutions that are part of the Board of Regents family. And so we see there is, between that triangulation, I think you can see that there would be a compelling reason why we might look at that. I'll show you an example of this. This is data scientists in the regional labor market of New Orleans. You can see right now, over the last year, there have been 444 job postings for a data scientist, but only 72 hires. Only 53% of the current data scientists in the New Orleans area receive their education from us. And then lastly, real difference in acceleration. Over the previous 8 years, if anything, actually demand for data scientists was looking to wane, and now suddenly it's just taken off like a rocket. So I think you can see between those three pieces, there's every reason to imagine data science is a place where maybe we need to have additional capacity in the New Orleans area, perhaps further afield across the state. This is what that looks like when I look at that from a statewide picture. Again, because something isn't listed on this list doesn't mean we don't need it. These are just the most compelling occupation areas across our state for additional capacity. Computer occupations, software engineers, cybersecurity engineers, web developers, all of those kinds of things, all things computer occupation. Health technology and technicians, health diagnosis and practitioners, nurses, and people who work largely in the healthcare sector. I know this is incredibly surprising information to you. You didn't know any of that before you came in today. Mathematical science occupations. As a mathematician, I love the fact that I now get to say we need more math folk. Data scientists, operation researchers, analysts, we need more of them. And then lastly, teachers. Teachers, we need more well-qualified teachers all across our state. Those are the most compelling needs we have right now. But what we've done is work that same analysis regional labor market area by regional labor market area. So I kind of want to show you at least a little bit what that looks like in a couple of those just to give you the flavor of that. I won't show you all 8. But this is what it looks like in the New Orleans area. Actually, the most compelling needs in the New Orleans area mirror the most compelling needs across our state. So you can see those same occupations, but we can dig deeper. And we can see that within each of those occupation groups there in the New Orleans area, you can see the kinds of occupations that are most needed right now. Registered nurses, data scientists, software developers, computer science analysts, elementary and middle school teachers, and then clinical lab technologists and technicians. That's what we need. And we can dig even a little deeper. We can see, so for instance, for software developers, what right now do companies want from their software developers? We can see they want SQL, they want JavaScript, they want C#, they want HTML, they want agile methodology. These are the kinds of software skills that those employers want. But they also want, and we heard Dr. Henderson talk about this yesterday, they want problem-solving skills, leadership skills, communication skills. They want those, sometimes we call them soft skills. They want those specialized job knowledge base around those programming languages, but they also want those richer liberal arts kinds of skills from their graduates. And so, again, we can provide this information to our institutions so as they create those new degree programs, that they build those curricular elements into those degrees. Again, this is what that picture looks like for the most compelling demand. What we've done then is to line that up with what the institutions in that area are planning for this upcoming year. This is what they're proposing to you today. So you can see they're at Delgado, associate degrees in invasive vascular technology and health navigator at LSU Health Sciences, medical sciences and biomedical sciences, and Nunez EMT, very much looking to increase our capacity in the healthcare space and the technician space. You can see there at UNO adding a new RN to BSN program in nursing to increase our capacity across the nursing space. And then there at SUNO, again, leaning into the healthcare space with cardiopulmonary science, and then additional capacity in cybersecurity, data science, and elementary education. Very nice to see that elementary education program resurrected from, it was actually removed from SUNO's portfolio after Katrina. Now they are bringing that back. There is such a compelling need. So you can see that the degrees that our campuses are planning, they line up very well with what we see as being the most compelling needs. They won't fill all of those needs. I'm not in any way saying they will, but they very much line up with that. Same kind of picture. Let me show you just as a contrast, the Homer region. You can see there the most compelling needs are, again, in computer occupations, but and in health technology and mathematical sciences, but also there engineering tech. It's a different region, has different needs. And again, we could look to see, as we look to see those through those occupations, how that lines up with the new degrees that are being proposed in that region. There at Fletcher, 2 new associate degrees in computer information systems and cybersecurity, and then at Nichols, bachelor's degrees in civil and geospatial engineering, engineering tech, and information technology. So you can again see the way in which those proposed degrees really do dovetail with the analysis we have for the most compelling needs. We will be circulating all of that analysis to all of those campuses so that way they can use that as part of their planning this coming year. The reality is that there's lots of different ways to slice and dice this data. Each of the campuses will now have access to this tool. They will have the ability to use that in ways that perhaps, that they may be able to see that data through a different lens that we can see here at the system office. But again, having that tool to be able to shape this picture more globally, I think is a really powerful new tool for us. So as I say, there are 52 programs that are planned. What we are doing today by receiving this report is simply giving those campuses permission to move forward with the planning process of creating those full-blown portfolios, those full-blown proposal documents, which will each be presented to you as they come to us for your consideration. Those proposal documents, if you'll remember, are very different from the way that they've been in the past, now including lots more information about job employment data and how it is that the curriculum for those particular programs meet what we see from a data perspective is exactly the ongoing compelling need. But as those programs come forward, so we will bring them to you for consideration. That wasn't the only thing we asked the campuses to do, if you remember. We also asked them, as I say, to assess their programs and also assess their portfolio. These are the programs which we are proposing no longer to receive progress reports, and these are the programs which we are proposing for termination. Those campuses have gone through and made sure that they have a teach-out plan for all of those programs and are assured that they no longer have a useful purpose as part of their degree portfolio. So this is our staff recommendation, that you receive and accept the one-year list of planned new degree programs, that you receive and accept the report on recently approved programs, and that you approve the requested program terminations. Thank you.
There you go. Thank you, Dr. Denley. I just want to say it's amazing that just a few months ago we were here, and this was an idea about how to start this framework. And with Commissioner Reed and you and the entire Board of Regents, I know it's been a lot of work. This idea has become a reality this year. Phenomenal. And you could see how this programming framework is so appealing, just commonsensical. The public at large, the legislature across the street, the governor down the road. This makes great sense to say not only are we looking at where there are needs geographically and what we have and don't have, but we're trying to tie this into where are there real world jobs and needs that we can meet. And it's everything that I think we hear from everybody about what we need to do. And here we are, a few months later, are going to approve 52 programs and then downsize 15 that weren't needed. In this framework. So I'm sure there are lots of questions about individually, but I could tell you this, if Regent Ewing were here, he would applaud all of this because this is certainly a passionate issue for him. He loves to make sure that these programs are lining up with the needs of the community.
I talked to him during the week, so he
Absolutely. I know Regent Finley has some questions.
I do. Thank you, Tristan, and I echo Regent David's comments about the hard work. I did have questions because I know in previous meetings, we've talked about the duplication of degrees, the dilution, if you will, of some of the degrees if we have them in institutions or in regions that are too close. And one of the things that I noticed for the planned programs were that we have 2 new programs aligned for Masters of Social Work.
Yes.
And one is at Southeastern, and the other is at Northwestern. My question is really focused on Northwestern because of its closeness in the region to Grambling. Mm-hmm. Does your data show that is an area that the jobs and the numbers are calling for a new master's program in that area?
So the way in which we can now approach this process in ways we've not in the past is to make sure that as we bring new degree programs online, that we can make sure that they create appropriate partnerships with existing programs and make sure that they actually create existing new partnerships with new programs as they come online. Yes, there is a compelling need across our state for many more people in social work and in counseling disciplines in general. But one of the things we have to take very great care of is, as you say, in that particular area, we will need to make sure that there are appropriate capacity for clinical placement and for all of those things. And that will happen as part and parcel of that portfolio process. So exactly as you say, that today you're not approving those 52 new degrees, just simply allowing people to move through the planning process.
And so, just so I'm clear, you're not suggesting that in the end that will be the case, that the jobs and the capacities or the gaps will show that. It's just the opportunity to move forward.
That's right.
To take a look at.
That's exactly right.
Let me just also comment, I know a lot of conversation yesterday, we now have learned in healthcare that your zip code determines how long you live and your outcomes more importantly than your healthcare facility and the fancy CT scanners and MRIs that we have. And so as healthcare focuses on the social determinants, it is becoming obvious that not only do we need more nurses, that we need more social workers and those individuals who are really going to manage those other emotional, behavioral, and social related entities. And so it is a complementary piece to those of us who are trying on the healthcare side to elevate outcomes in our state, and our social workers are an important part of that.
That's right, and I think there is a new opportunity we've not had before to make sure that as we create new programs, they're not duplicative, they're complementary, and that's an important shift. Yeah.
Great. And how are the campuses receiving this? I know it's a lot more work on the front end for Regents and the campuses. Hopefully, once the framework and everyone's used to it, it's a little easier and makes it more, plain and commonsensical going forward. But how are they receiving this right now, the additional assignments that they're getting?
Yeah, so what I've heard from campuses is, so first of all, they very much welcome this planning process. I think certainly, I'll give a big shout out to the Southern system, who I think really very much came together and had, I think, a very rich conversation about how, as a system and as sister institutions, they could craft out a plan not only for 1 year but for all 3 years, and it seems as though that very much shines through in how it is that they're thinking about what they're proposing. So the planning process itself, I think, has very much been welcomed. The new proposal process, we knew this would be the case, that it's a lot longer than it used to be, and so initially people said, "Wow, it's a lot longer than it used to be," and I get that. But the intended use is somewhat different. I think I explained to you back in April, if at the end of planning a whole new degree, you now have to fill out this 14-page form for the board, it's like, that's a long form. But that's not the idea. The idea is the form itself is a thought journey that helps with the process of creating the new degree. And that's what people are now seeing, that it isn't something you do at the end. It's something that actually leads you through the process that we all want people to follow as they create their degree. And when they see that, then it isn't quite as daunting. So, yeah.
Any other questions? All right, thank you all. You've heard the recommendation from senior staff. Is there a motion to receive and accept the year one list of planned new degree programs and the recently approved program progress report, and to approve the requested program terminations? Got to move? And a second? Any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you, Dr. Denley, and the entire Regents staff. That's amazing that this concept is reality that quickly. Next to item 5, the revised minimum admission standards. Members, we're revisiting the bridge discussions that we talked about at last month's meeting. There's There's been a lot of discussions back and forth. We worked well, I think, with LSU, gotten lots of information about the students in the past, in the Fall Bridge, and maybe the Summer Bridge metrics as well. And I think for our discussions going forward, it's going to be so important that we continue to have that information about Fall Bridge students and the success rates and things like that going forward. But Dr. Denley, why don't you tell us about the updates with this item?
Yeah, happy to. Thank you so much. So you'll remember last month, we presented a number of new ways in which we expanded admission criteria, but there was one aspect that board members deferred until this month to, which was the removal of, I think, what we've been referring to as the Fall Bridge provision. And so there have been, as Regent David says, a lot of really very productive conversations with our colleagues at LSU, and I very much want to thank Provost Haggerty for all of his assistance in bringing this work to fruition. What we discovered as we had that conversation is that there was, I think, a sort of a crossways in nomenclature, that as we were talking about Summer Bridge, we were talking about different things. LSU has two established Summer Bridge programs that serve student populations which are not the same as what we were talking about. They have a Summer Bridge program for scholars who are so high-flying students they want to get off to a great start, and then they have another Summer Bridge program, which is a non-credit program for students to come on campus 3 weeks early and kind of find their feet and find where their classes are and get used to campus and this and that. But they don't currently have an access program, a program for students who don't meet their current criteria, and that was, of course, exactly the program which we were asking about. And so it makes absolute sense to me that and that's exactly what our colleagues at LSU have asked for, to allow us to have some more time to be able to build that program and to create the resources to be able to actually put such a program on its feet. So our colleagues at LSU have requested that the Fall Bridge provision, rather than being phased out in the fall of 2023, which was our original proposal, would instead be phased out in fall of 2024, of course, for all of our campuses, not only for LSU A&M, but for all of our campuses. And that indeed is the recommendation to senior staff, that we do indeed remove that Fall Bridge provision, but we do so not in fall of 2023, but in fall of 2024.
Gotcha. And we want LSU and the students to have success through their Fall Bridge. Do we have the numbers on this year's fall? How many students are in the Fall Bridge for 2022?
So we have not yet reached the 14th day for LSU, and so those exact numbers are not yet available. But I'm sure as soon as they're available to them, they'll be available to us too.
Okay, great. Any other questions? Yeah, Regent Temple.
I just think it'd be fitting for Supervisor Werner to maybe, if there's anything you want to say or speak to that.
Well, I just want to thank Dr. Denley again, because he, as you all know, he and I had quite a vigorous debate, which led to the work needing to be done, the first other questions that needed to be answered, which clarified perhaps the confusion between our conversation, but it was lively, and I think we really honed in on some very important facts about the different student populations we're serving, and that we didn't want to hamper any student wanting to come to LSU or to Louisiana for that matter, because we know we do it best in Louisiana, whatever institution a student comes to, and as LSU, you know, we want to welcome them. And I want to thank you again, Provost Haggerty and Dr. Denley, for really honing in on this. Regent Sterling for giving us the extra time to figure out the questions that we were having, and we certainly appreciate the work and agree with the proposal as it is today. So. Thank you so much.
As I say, you know, and this is not in the spirit of imagining that we can just simply copy what other people have done in other systems, but we have been able to connect the team at LSU with a number of exemplar programs across the country. And I know there's been a lot of email traffic to be able to take advantage of that brain trust, if you will, to make sure that as we put this program on its feet, we use all of the best kind of evidence-based practices to make it as effective as it can be. It's been great. Thank you.
Great. Yes, Regent Meir.
So are we starting this program next year just for LSU or for all the systems?
For everyone.
For everyone.
Yes, sir.
So it's available to any, Summer Bridge and the summer programs are available now to
Now.
anyone who wants to do it. I know from Dr. Shields' perspective, he has said he's interested, others may be as well. But LSU specifically has stated they have a robust fall program. They want to will move to a summer program, and so that is the extra year that's allowed. But any system or any institution can lean into this space.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions or comments? All righty. Regent, you've heard the staff recommendation that the removal of the provision that does not count students as exceptions if they meet certain GPA and course requirements effective fall 2024 in our proposal, and also that we certainly get the stats we needed, the fall 22 bridge students as well as 23 when that comes around, and then their success rates whenever that information is available, so we can all work hand in hand to get this done. Is there anyone who can so move? Oh, we'll have a motion, then yes. So I have a motion from former Supervisor Werner and
Second.
former President Werner, Supervisor Werner, and a second from Regent Sterling. Sorry about that. Okay, and we have a motion pending, but yes, sir, go ahead. I'm not sure you're lit up either. Yeah, hit your button. There you go.
There we are. A little green light comes on. That means it's on, right?
It took me a while too.
Yeah, got it. Thank you for the opportunity, and just wanted to come to the table for just one second. I was not able to be a part of the last month's conversation around admission standards. I think it's important to weigh in and make sure you understand kind of where our community and technical colleges stand in this discussion. If you look back, this has been a 25-year policy discussion. It did not happen with the pandemic. It started 25 years ago. And I need this board to understand why it started. 25 years ago, we all recognized that education was now required for more parts of the population. And so for all those years where we had 40,000 kids graduating high school and we could get those students into the higher ed infrastructure and we could graduate them, then we were excited about that. The challenge is today, more people must be educated. And you're the ones who laid out that path for us with the Master Plan of Higher Education. If we're going to graduate 85,000 students a year, having a willy-nilly approach to admissions will not get us there. Period. I support the bridge program, but let me tell you what I also support. I support all of the bridge programs. I can give you an example of a relationship between Southeastern Louisiana University and North Shore Technical Community College that had over 1,500 students co-enrolled prior to an institution deciding that they would go test optional. So for us to be here today arguing for a bridge program for a specific institution, the very institution that killed those relationships at the local level, I'm sorry, but I have a real hard time with that. Folks, this is not an easy decision. We're having a conversation about 18-year-old kids and where they go to school when we have 1.1 million adults out there who need what we do. We are fiddling while the ship sinks. Let's get on the same page here, and let's make sure our students are able to serve, our institutions are able to serve the students and put them in a place to succeed. That's really what this is about. Let's act together. And when we make a decision, let's damn well stick to that decision. This is not a circumstance where institutions get to decide what they want to do. We are better than that. We are a state that needs to take serious policy direction, serious policy decisions around admissions, and ensure that we're graduating folks so that they can go to work. One final point. As a state, we have one of the nation's highest rates of people with some college and no credential. How do you think we got here? By admitting students to institutions where they did not succeed. Our friends at UL have done an incredible job of building something called Compete Louisiana. aimed at the population of 500,000 people who have some college and no credential. Other states have that population, but not at the rate that we do, because our policy dictated that. Let's make good policy, and let's follow it, and let's do the things that we ought to do for the people of Louisiana. This discussion is not about institutions. If you find yourself having a discussion about colleges or universities, we're having the wrong discussion. It's about people. When a student graduates high school in this state, 10 years later, they typically show up at our colleges. 27, 28, average age of our students. The most expensive 10 years of life, except for the last 10 from a healthcare point of view, happens between 18 and 28. We have a chance to change some of that. And admissions policy, I believe, is a portion of that decision. I look forward to supporting this work. I want to say one other final thing. I have a great colleague and friend in Bill Tate. I want to be really clear about that. His scholarship-first approach at LSU is the right approach, and I support it. And I'm here to work with him to make damn sure that we make a better set of circumstances for the people of Louisiana, not make decisions for institutions. Mr. Chairman, thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sullivan. Any other questions or comments? Yo, Dr. Sullivan, I think we have a question for you. Go ahead, Regent Finley.
And so just so I'm clear, Dr. Sullivan, thank you for your comments. You are not, your position would be that you phase out in 2023 the fall bridge at LSU. Am I your position on that?
I really am not concerned so much about the timing of it.
Hit
I
one more
apologize.
time.
I'm not so much concerned about timing of 23 or 24 as I am, let's just do this right. Let's do it in a way that is transparent and honest to students, that frankly is, let's make sure that, this committee is not the finance committee. This is the academic committee. It's not about enrolling more students to gain more revenue. It's about enrolling more students to graduate more students to make Louisiana a better place. That's what it comes back to. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you so much, Monty. Let me just add a
got a few
point,
of them, yeah.
because I think we tried to make this point on yesterday with LSUE, with our great student who made the point. Traditionally, we have had very strong bridge programs that bridge students between community college and four-year institutions. So the answer was not no, you can't come, but yes, but you need to do some work together. And so Monty's position has been, why are we not continuing to lean into the bridge programs that have been proven that strengthen the relationships between institutions on behalf of students? And so you see pre-pandemic some disruptions in enrollment patterns. Post-pandemic or through pandemic, you see more disruptions in enrollment patterns. And so the question is, can we lean further into these bridge programs between community colleges and four-year institutions as well, so that every student has an opportunity? So these programs were robust, the one he mentioned, robust and effective. And so now how do we build back to where we were and even improve on that? Is that accurate, Monty?
That's right.
Very well said.
Regent Tarver? All right. Yes, go ahead. Who was it? Was it Regent Pryor? Who had their hands up? I'm sorry. Oh, go ahead, Regent Pryor.
So the debate at the last meeting, LSU and board chair was saying that their summer bridge program and fall bridge program were the same and were helping cause an increase in the diversity of the campus at record numbers. So there was no summer bridge program that he was referring to.
So the summer bridge programs at LSU, there are two that we have been informed of. Both of them serve students who already meet the requirements, the admissions requirements, and just help students to get off to a faster start. The request that we have made is to move from a fall program for students who do not meet admissions to a summer program for students who do not meet admissions. So our position is to request that the Board of Regents eliminate the fall bridge completely and have summer bridge only statewide.
So, and then to directly address what you're saying, that is correct. They were assuming that, I don't know if they were assuming, they just did, I don't know if he didn't know, but what the fall bridge is there for, the summer bridge does not focus on accomplishing the same thing. It's a completely different set of circumstances and focus. And I believe he didn't realize that, ultimately. So really, the decision that we were making was not affecting at all what he was proposing, what was happening. Okay, for it to be affecting the diversity efforts, it would have had to exist. And it didn't. That's all, yeah, so. In the form that he was proposing, it existed. Was that clear? Because it wasn't really clear to what I said.
Can I give it a try?
Go ahead.
Regent.
And then we'll
So-
do Regent Lowry.
Regent
Go ahead.
Pryor, correct. So the diversity efforts are in every high achieving students who come ready to go. They want to come in the summertime. They're not an exception. They meet the requirements. They're ready to get started. They come early. Summer Bridge. Other students who want to come get the college experience on a big campus for a few weeks. It's not the full 2 months, a few weeks. The fall program at LSU does serve students who need that extra time, those extra classes to then prepare them to be successful. LSU was asking, and yes, this is where the confusion in the conversation last month was happening. So now that we're all clear and on the same page and with all the work that's been done, LSU is requesting 1 year to prepare that we would then eliminate the program in the fall of '24 versus the fall of '23, the fall bridge program, moving it to the summer, while still supporting the efforts of LSUE and all of our other community and technical colleges who do provide summer bridge programs as well. And LSUE is part of that within the LSU system. Does that? Thank you for the question.
Regent Lowry.
As things currently stand, within the policy framework that we have, LSU A&M has 4% of exceptions plus 100 non-resident students, plus 100 non-resident students, and the accounting for that happens at the end of the fall. So with this action, you would be changing that so that from fall 2024 onwards, that accounting would happen at the beginning of the fall, because. Like everybody else that has. So this action is, so just to be clear, the action we're taking today does not only affect LSU and A&M. This is for all institutions in the. No, there are other campuses that bring students in the fall, but yeah.
Those students who enroll in a fall bridge program who are not otherwise qualified to get into LSU are being counted as an exception, are not counted as an exception in the fall that they enroll.
That's correct. So let me try, Tristan. So the current policy is if you enroll a student who doesn't meet requirements in fall bridge, and the student receives a 2.3 and completes successfully English or math, they're no longer counted as an exception.
But that is determined at the end of the fall.
At the end of the fall.
Correct.
That's correct.
So,
You kind of retroactively declassifying them as exceptions.
exactly. So our request is move them to the summer, support them thoroughly, and decide if they're successful in the summer or not, with a preference that you provide the level of support for all bridge programs, so we have a determination before the fall.
Right, okay, perfect.
Great. Regent Lowry.
Nobody ever.
Sorry about that.
Sorry, I was like patiently waiting. I want to thank Dr. Sullivan and Commissioner Reed for bringing really valid points to kind of piggyback off what they said. As someone personally who is in a 2-year institution hoping to transfer to a 4-year, I would love to see more things that kind of appeal to people like me. I'm 27 years old. I'm trying to get this done. Sometimes I've noticed a lot of 4-year institutions, they're so excited for the fresh 18-year-old that 27-year-old isn't as appealing, but I know a lot of people are in the same position as me, and we're more than willing to love to see things where we can transfer a little more fluently. Things happen sometimes when you're in your 2-year institution. GPAs drop a little bit, hurricanes and whatnot, so I'd love to see like that leniency to help us get back on track to be able to get that degree, be able to transfer. So I just wanted to say that.
There is not an institution in this state that doesn't want more like Regent Logray, that's for sure. Regent Pryor, do you have another question? Are you good?
I had a question about the exception number. You come from Tennessee and Georgia. What are do you recall the exception numbers of those flagship universities? Or how they handle the exceptions?
I don't remember the exact numbers, but they are not dissimilar. They are much the same kind of idea. They're not.
Okay.
Not very different.
Where it's around a small percentage and then a hard number
That's
on
right.
top.
So I remember Georgia more vividly than I remember Tennessee. But in Georgia, there's a percentage of students, and the percentage is the same kinds of percentages that we have here. There they don't have and some number of non-resident students. It's just a straight percentage.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
All righty. I think we've all said our piece. All those in favor of the pending motion, say aye.
Has the motion been seconded? I'm sorry.
Yes, seconded and discussed and questioned, I believe. So we're all good. It's just about the votes. We all good?
All good.
I think Regent Sterling is the one who seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Hearing none, the motion passes. And I think that's all. Is there any other business come before the committee?
There is no other business.
All right, any other business that anyone here wants to discuss? Hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn? And a second? We are adjourned. Thank you so much.
Thanks, sir.
Wow, I'm so proud of us. We've gotten back on track. I'd like to call Research and Sponsored Initiatives Committee to order. Well, no, I'm going to ask Regent May to call it to order. Regent?
Is it working? Oh, there it goes. I'd like to call Research Sponsored Initiatives Committee to order. Ms. Robinson, would you please call the roll?
Yes, sir. Chair Weil, Vice Chair May,
Here.
Regent Finley, Regent Meir, Regent Seal, Regent Solomon. You have a quorum.
Thank you. Next item is 3, consent agenda. Carrie, please proceed.
Yes, sir. On the consent agenda, we have one item, and it's a request from Nicholls State University to divide a support fund matched endowed chair into 4 professorships. This has been approved by both the original donor and by the Board of Supervisors, and the senior staff recommends approval of this item.
Thank you. Members, you've heard the recommendation. Do I have a motion? Regent Meir, motion second by Regent Finley. Any discussions or questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes. Now on to other businesses. Carrie, I understand you have an item for us for other business.
Yes, sir. This is for information only, and it is, I'm going to briefly give an overview of a constitutional amendment that will be on the November 8th ballot this year. It's Constitutional Amendment 1, and this amendment was passed by the legislature and signed by the governor in 2021 to allow the treasurer to increase the equity cap on investments in several funds that are managed by the Treasury. These funds affect multiple agencies, including Regents, LDOE, Medicaid, and Wildlife and Fisheries. And the intent is to raise the equity cap on investments from 35%, which is the current cap, to 65%, to allow additional proceeds to be generated for expenditure. This, one of the funds included is the Louisiana Education Quality Trust Fund, which funds the Board of Regents Support Fund. So bear in mind when I'm talking about this, what we're talking about are proceeds into the Board of Regents Support Fund. This action would bring these funds, which are very large funds. If you recall from the Treasurer's presentation last year, the LEQTF is now in excess of $1.5 billion in capital. And these funds are roughly equivalent to the size of retirement funds in Louisiana. And this would bring them in line with the way retirement funds are controlled in Louisiana. The equity cap of 35% was set back when these funds were established, and in the case of the LEQTF, that was 1986. Markets were very different then, and safe investments were much closer to the returns that you could get on equity than they are now. It's important to note that this amendment does not mandate a 65% rate of investment. What it does is it provides the treasurer with flexibility in investments to maximize our returns based on market conditions. Why does this matter to all of you? It matters because since the Great Recession, the LEQTF has generated approximately 40 to 50% less in revenues for expenditure for you all than it did in 2008. This year, actually, we are more than 50% down from our 2008 number. This will help us to recover some of that loss and will give us much more expendable revenue to provide to our campuses for grant funding, for equipment purchases, for endowment matching, for all of the things that you approve in April every year. So the purpose of this amendment is really to give the Treasury the flexibility to get our revenues back where we hope they should be.
So you all, from a general perspective, I'm going to vote for amendment number 1, and I hope that we make sure we do what we can to educate as many people as possible as to the significance of this for their kids and their kids' education and ultimately the future of the state of Louisiana. But when you say us, you mean Board of Regents, Department of Education,
Wildlife and Fisheries, Medicaid. I mean, the funds that we're talking about are the LEQTF Millennium Trust Fund, which you hear about at every joint meeting, the Medicaid Trust Fund, and the Russell Sage and Marsh Island Trust Fund and Rockefeller Trust Fund, which are held by Wildlife and Fisheries. So we're talking a broad-based impact across the state.
All right.
Well, thank you, and I think it's important to note that this provides the option, not the mandate, and had we had this in place during these very low interest rates, the fund could have performed better, provided more funds for those important programs. Thank you. Is there any other business for the committee?
No, sir.
Very good. Hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn? Second? All right. Any discussions, questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Committee is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Regent May. I want to take some time real quick before we move on to our next committee to introduce Dr. Eric Turner, who has been selected the president and CEO of LACU, which of course is Louisiana Association of Independent Colleges and Universities. He, I think, has been on the job for 5 days, 9 days. So we, of course, appreciate that he has taken some time to come down and introduce himself to us. We don't necessarily get as engaged and involved with the independent colleges and universities, but of course, we make ourselves available to have the interaction, and for him to make the time, or for this to be important enough that he comes and takes some time. We appreciate it. If there's anything you may want to say, great. If not, obviously, no problem. Okay, all right, thank you. So we appreciate that, and move on now to statewide program and committee meeting. Regent McDonald, if you'll call your committee to order, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to call the statewide programs committee to order and ask Ms. Carey there to call the roll for us.
Yes, sir. Regent Ewing. Vice Chair McDonald.
Here.
Regent Finley. Here. Regent Meir.
Here.
Regent Pryor.
Here.
Regent Weil. Regent Libre.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you, Carrie. Our first item is item number 3, is a presentation on National Recovery Month, and we're joined by Dr. Allison Smith, our Assistant Commissioner for Student Health and Wellness, who will present the item and introduce our guest.
Good morning, everyone. Dr. Allison Smith. I want to start out by saying recovery is for everyone, every person, every family, every community. And so this month, we're excited to recognize National Recovery Month. Today, more than 20 million Americans are recovering from substance use disorder. Whether they are parents, children, siblings, neighbors, co-workers, or friends, many of us are close to someone working to overcome drug or alcohol addiction. In celebration of Americans on the road to recovery, this National Recovery Month, we recommit to helping prevent substance use disorder, supporting those who are still struggling, and providing people in recovery with the resources they need to live full and healthy lives. When our fellow Americans recover from substance use disorder, our nation becomes stronger and more resilient. President Joe Biden, from his National Recovery Month proclamation, and I would argue the same is true here in Louisiana as we develop talent. I'll first start out by giving a little overview of collegiate recovery programming, which I'm excited to have introduce our guest in a second. But this is not a new concept. The first collegiate recovery program started over 45 years ago at Brown University in 1977 from a faculty member who was in recovery and sought to help students on campus who were struggling with addiction and substance use. One of the next big movements in the collegiate recovery movement that we see was Rutgers University, which began recovery-only housing, providing dormitory space for students who are in recovery. Because as many of you all know, it is not hard to be on a college campus and run across alcohol or drugs in the world that we live in. And so what we want to do is making sure we're providing safe spaces for students who are in recovery to be able to matriculate, get their degree, and also maintain their recovery and sobriety on our campuses. Some of the national developments began with the Association of Recovery Schools in 2002, which was a consortium of high schools, recovery high schools, and colleges who were working to provide that kind of support for people in recovery. With the just growing divergence of needs, we saw the Texas Tech University, who's considered the mothership of collegiate recovery. They developed an excellent research center that they received a replication grant from the U.S. Department of Education to produce a model which Southeastern also used to replicate programming on their campuses from the U.S. Department of Education and the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. Given that there are some unique challenges between the K-12 world and the higher ed world, there was a divergence with the Association of Recovery High Schools, which solely focuses on high schools now. But in 2011, we saw the development of the Association of Recovery in Higher Education, which provides support to all types of collegiate communities, whether that's 2-year, 4-year, public, or private. And one of the next big movements we saw was with Transforming Youth Recovery, which was a grant that specialized in providing early seed funding in the amounts of $10,000 to different campuses to start collegiate recovery programming on their campuses. That was done by the Stacey Matheson Foundation, who was a mother who became an activist champion for collegiate recovery after losing her son to his substance use addiction. Some of the benefits of collegiate recovery, there's research that shows that students who participate in collegiate recovery programs, it shortens their recovery and relapse cycle by 15 years. So one, that is helping people to get into recovery earlier, stay there longer, so that they can become producing citizens of their local economies. The next is the increase in educational excellence, which Annette will happily share about some of the GPAs that students in collegiate recovery communities tend to have a higher GPA than the collective student body. And then for us, it definitely hits on the facilitation of talent development. For our master plan goals for 60% of all working age adults to have, in the ages of 25 to 64, to have a degree or high value credential by 2030. One of the amazing students I got to meet at the program at Southeastern, I spoke at their gratitude breakfast, they talked about how not only they had received both of the graduates that particularly had received their GED, but they found a place where they were non-traditional students, they were able to come to Southeastern. They graduated in December of last year. One of them is now enrolled in LSU, working on her master's in social work because she wants to help more people in recovery. And the other one is working to serve the homeless and addicted population here in Baton Rouge. So we know that we're developing talent and by supporting the programs like Line Up Recovery. So for our office, there was an intentional collaboration. I want to just say that these programs don't just happen by choice. There are about 155 programs nationwide. We have 2 in the state of Louisiana. The first one being at Southeastern, and then Tulane launched the program about a year later, and we are working to help LSU launch a program coming up within the next school year, which is being led by an amazing student there at LSU. He has spent time as a teaching assistant, an undergraduate researcher with the Cyber Corps grant through the National Science Foundation, and he's an engineering student who is working and he's promised a job with the government when he graduates through the grant program he is in. But this intentional collaboration between the Office of National Drug Control Policy, which stated in their 2018 National Drug Control Strategy that every higher education institution should offer recovery supports to its students. We're working to increase the number from 2 in the state of Louisiana. We have some funding from the work we do at our office and through the Louisiana Department of Health to be able to help fund some of the programming at Southeastern Louisiana University. And I really want to commend the UL system for stepping up and for committing to launching that program. This is some pictures from the launch we had a few years ago, and now Annette will be able to show you all their new space, but it was a completely bought-in effort. There's people from the Louisiana Department of Health in those pictures, Dr. Reed, from the UL leadership, and I didn't put this in our slide, but I want to recognize Annette Baldwin. She won the University President's Award for her outstanding staff member work this year and was recently presented with an award. And now I will turn it over to Annette to speak about some of their programming.
Hi, my name is Annette Baldwin. I am a person in long-term recovery. I've actually started my job at Southeastern 19 years ago as a sober person, as a counselor in the counseling center. And what I kept seeing was students whose parents had funded them through treatment or had gone through treatment. They were on our campuses in recovery, coming to the counseling center. And I kept thinking, like, wow, like, you need community, and you don't have that here on our campus. I did write the Stacy Matheson grant, Transforming Youth, and we did get it funded. And through that effort, like our awareness of what collegiate recovery was and what it could do for our campus was tremendously expanded. So since that time, we've had 23 students who have signed up for collegiate recovery. We have 8 currently active, 15 who we kind of keep track of. We know they're in recovery on our campus, so we do case management through them. And we've graduated 7. And I mean, of the 7, we now have a teacher in recovery. We have a PhD student at Ole Miss getting his PhD in history. His story was heroin, and now he's a PhD student at Ole Miss. It's very touching. I'm so sorry. So how we get our students are typically self-referred. They find out about our program. They find out about our opportunity. We've definitely had students that have transferred from other universities in Louisiana that do not offer collegiate recovery because they do welcome that safe space. We also get referrals from treatment centers, as well as I've had a lot of referrals from faculty who see those behaviors, or they have that relationship with that student, and they're classroom. They want them to succeed, so then they refer them directly to our recovery space. Just this year, I did accept the position to be the Southeast rep for the Association for Recovery of Higher Education. And I was excited to announce that Southeastern Louisiana University will host the Southeast Summit, May of 2023. So we'll have University of Florida, Vanderbilt, Mississippi State will be in Hammond, America, talking lots of recovery. We do things, next weekend, not next weekend, but next weekend we'll be camping with all universities of the Southeast. We typically do a retreat. That's kind of the silly picture on the bottom right. And we do other campus-wide initiatives to really combat barriers to recovery and look at how we approach stigma, ways to break that down. So we'll be hosting the Wellness Summit and for Recovery and Mental Health along with our Parish Alcohol and Drug Coalition. We also hosted the Anonymous People documentary. We've engaged our students in a panel after the documentary to discuss barriers to recovery. Our program is modeled after Texas Tech, which also carries endowments for their students in recovery. So we've made every effort to raise monies and be able to offer those scholarships for our students in recovery that may have depleted their funds through their addiction, or maybe their parents paid out their college fund to send their child to treatment as opposed to college. So we are doing a holiday market if anybody likes to shop. That'll be November 12th at our Pennington Center. That goes directly to our programming and scholarship fund. We offer seminar once a week for our students in recovery, but we do lots of open support for all of our campus. So even students who are sober curious, we welcome them in to all of our support groups. But thank you so much for letting me be here today. We continue to receive support from ULS System, Dr. Allison Smith. We work with the Collegiate Recovery Board. We also work with SAFE Project and obviously the Association for Recovery of Higher Education. Thank you again. That's our summit this May.
Thank you very much for the presentations. Is there any other business to become before the committee, Carrie?
No, sir.
There's not any other business. Any questions? Yes,
I just have a comment. I just want to thank you both for the work that you do. It's important work, and it's really needed, and thank you.
Yes, that was good, and thank you for the presentation, because some of us are certainly not informed in this area, and this has been very helpful. Do we have a motion to adjourn? So moved. Do I have a second? Second. All in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Nay. We're adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, Regent McDonald, and thank you all for giving us that information. So I'd like to call the September Board of Regents meeting to order. Members, remember, once again, we're being streamed live. Please speak into the mic, hit the green, make sure the light is green when you hit the button if you want to make a comment, so we can get into it. Our virtual audience, we want them to be able to hear us. So we will now move to the roll call. Ms. Doreen, please call the meeting to order, or call the roll so I can call the meeting to order.
Regent Dobby. Regent Ewing. Regent Finley. Here. Regent Levy. Here. Regent Lowbray.
Here.
Regent May.
Here.
Regent McDonald. Regent Meir. Regent Perez. Regent Pryor.
Here.
Regent Seal. Regent Solomon. Regent Sterling. Regent Temple.
Here.
Regent Weil. Regent Williams Brown. Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum.
Ms. Brasso, Mr. Chairman, Regent David is actually.
He's gone, so you can mark him
Still have a
gone. Right. Thank you. Thank you. So, thank you, Doreen, and thank you for that, Regent Finley. Public comments. So, do we have any public comments? Any public comments? No public comments. Okay. Any additional? No. Members. So, you obviously have received a copy of our August 24th meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes? All right. Thank you all. Motion and seconded by, oh, well, we got that, May and Perez. Okay. So any discussion? Any questions? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Motion passes. Thank you all. So now for the my comments, I'd like to turn the mic over to Regent Lowbray. Please, Regent Lowbray.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate the opportunity to listen into the budget hearings yesterday. I found it to be very enlightening and a very good learning experience for me. As a student, I really appreciate the amount of time and effort being put into student success in the state of Louisiana. Next weekend is our first COST meeting hosted at the Southern Law Center. The state representative, Delisha Boyd, will be presenting on mental health, which is a prominent topic on all of our campuses, especially dealing with the aftermath of the pandemic and all of the disruptions our students have faced. We'll also be hearing a presentation from Dr. Dana Hunter with the Governor's Office of Human Trafficking Prevention on what we can do on our campuses to identify human trafficking victims and share resources for prevention. So we're really excited for our meeting next weekend, and that wraps up my report for this month, and I'm excited to welcome you all to Delgado next month for our board meeting. That's it.
Yes, so two things. I was just telling them we were going to be at Delgado on your turf next, I won't be there, but you're all in more than great hands. He will be ready.
If it's her turf, maybe she should run the meeting.
Right. So, and also, Regent Lowbray, you obviously mentioned that you were 27. I would have lost that bet. Definitely lost that bet.
What did you bet on?
I didn't bet. Okay, let me just not even go there, right? Even though Regent Perez was seconding my comment, but right, I thought you were a lot younger than you are. You're 27, which is still very young, but let me not even go there because I'll wade into something I don't need to wade into.
It's good genes. It's good genes. Don't worry.
Right. Exactly. So let me move to something else. Our staff retreat. Members, last month I got the opportunity. The entire Regents team convened for the annual staff retreat that was hosted by Southern University. And they rolled out, of course, the blue and gold carpet for us. And the Jaguar Nation opened up their stadium suites to the team and their home base, and they just had a phenomenal view. Later in the day, they boarded a bus, did a tour of the entire campus, made a pit stop for lunch. President Shields got a chance to address everybody and welcome them to, and also shared his vision for Southern and its students. And I could not pass up that opportunity. Let me just say this, you all: the red beans and rice, and the fried chicken, and the baked chicken. Okay, I was not ready. I was not expecting it. I will be having more meetings at Southern University. I'm just telling you, if you don't do anything else before you get off the Board of Regents, get them to host you at that. Y'all think I'm exaggerating. I'm just telling y'all, you're going to miss it, okay? And it was my birthday, I guess sometime during that time, so they gave me an amazing gift. Appreciate that, Emily, for the coordination of that. I got a signed picture with the governor. That was great. Was not expecting that. And then after lunch, there was a professional development session and team building activities, as well as a competitive college bowl trivia game with Southern and swag prizes for the winning division. So the entire Regents team worked very hard, guys, obviously every day to help us. Actually, Regent David and I were talking yesterday, and Regent Solomon, we were all three having a conversation. And one of the things that we're very clear about, Regent staff, is that we're not experts in the area of education. Now, the longer you're around here, I mean, I've been around here I'd say Regent Levy is an expert. Okay, he's not here anymore, okay, but I've been around here 8 or 9 years. I know a lot more now than I knew when I first got started. But you all are the experts. We understand that. We really appreciate what you do, the time, the effort, the energy that you put into it, the way that you help prepare us to make decisions that are going to affect and impact hundreds of thousands of people. It does not go without being noticed, and so we appreciate that, and we also appreciate Southern for being such gracious hosts, and we want to congratulate the team for a very successful event. Let's give our team a hand, you all. Also, LPB panel. Guys, I'm going to tell you something. Commissioner Reed moderated a panel discussion that was at the Louisiana Public Broadcasting in partnership with LSU, Southern University, University High, and Southern Lab. It was absolutely amazing. It was a conversation aimed to elevate the importance of teachers and explore the tools needed to help recruit and retain educators now and in the future. You all, that is Southern Lab and U High cheerleaders together. Would have been real cool to see the directors of U High and Southern Lab with the pom-poms coming in. If you had asked me, I could have gotten you a picture of that, a video of that, all right? Because I know both of those guys personally, and I'm going to blackmail them with that, okay? But it was great. And so as you know, LSU and Southern both have the lab schools guys on their campuses where educators are charged to create and share research and innovation in teaching and curriculum. So it was a tremendous opportunity for us to hear from both of them, as well as Superintendent Cade Brumley was there. But for me, being a Baton Rouge guy, being born and raised here, and seeing the connection between Southern Lab, U High, LSU, Southern, getting the opportunity to experience what we experienced weekend before last, it was absolutely amazing for those that were present. And so Commissioner Reed, just as it relates to that event, guys, she just completely did an amazing job in moderating that event and made it what it was. Both, as you see in the picture, you see President Tate was there, as well as President Shields. Both of them were there representing their respective college, universities, and it was just a phenomenal overall event with a lot of significant value-adding information. So that was another great event. And then LCTCS Impact Awards. I was, honored to support LCTCS during the annual conference in New Orleans earlier the month. I was not there, but as you see, Regent Meir was there, and Commissioner Reed was recognized as one of the recipients of the LCTCS Impact Award. She must have a very big trophy case, because everywhere she goes, she is recognized. The award, yeah. So, yeah, exactly. Regent Sterling was there as well. So, this award recognizes the significant contributions of individuals and businesses in the holistic mission of, LCTCS. The award celebrates visionaries inspiring others to push the boundaries of technology and innovation. So there is no doubt why she was, of course, recognized, you all. And we appreciate you, Commissioner, for everything that you do. And based on all the awards you get, I don't think it goes missed. So, and then if he's not, yeah, exactly. If he is not, he knew that we were going to do this, but new dad, Gary Solomon, the picture that he has is even better than that one, right? Okay. So we recognize you and Seth have a 3-week-old, and everybody is so funny, asking the exact same question: how is he sleeping? He said, "I've slept well since I've been here," right? So 6 pounds, 4 ounces, almost 20 inches. Excited for you all. Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Definitely, definitely.
You mind if I take a moment?
No,
to make a
definitely,
comment?
no, not at all. Go ahead.
Everyone has been so terrifying with the advice they have given. So thank you for all that terrifying advice. We're both very happy and have had a really exciting couple weeks. Look, we are a very well-connected, politically inclined groups, and so I would not do my own community service if I didn't take a moment to talk for just a brief second.
Yes.
There are 3 states in the United States where a couple like me and Seth have a very challenged process to have a baby. Michigan, Nebraska, and Louisiana are the 3 worst. Louisiana is the only state where it is, in fact, criminally prosecutable to have a commercial surrogate. So I just ask this group and everyone listening to remember that, and again, it's not only criminal for same-sex couples, but in most cases for straight couples as well, to have a commercial surrogate. There have been a couple attempts, I think Gary Smith has tried a couple times to change that law unsuccessfully. And so I just asked this group, when you look at that picture and how cute she is, to think there's a lot of couples, both straight and gay, that cannot have a child in this state and have to go elsewhere, which is a huge equity gap because the cost of this process, even if it were in state, would be a lot, but to go to California or a friendly state and do it and is just really prohibitive for a lot of families. And so I ask you, would you talk to your friends who make laws? And if this issue, and I hope this issue comes up again, just know there's a lot of same-sex and dual-sex couples that really need commercial surrogacy as a path to having a family. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Appreciate that. Thank you. And obviously, congratulations. So now moving on to item 6, the master plan year 3 update. We just got that. And thanks to all of you who were able to join us this morning for board development, guys, where we were able to preview this item and take a deep dive into the content. Commissioner Reed, the master plan is truly our North Star, and each September, the board looks forward. I know I look forward to hearing exactly where we are. Our goal is 60 by 30. And so I'm going to turn the mic over to you so you can introduce this item, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. As you all know, in 2019, we set an ambitious goal. As the chairman mentioned, this board has been very engaged and focused on talent development, on student support, on equity of opportunity. And so we're very appreciative to have this opportunity every year to look at ourselves, to see where are we and how are we doing, and to continue to advance the work. So you have in your possession a document that looks like this, Pathway to 2030. It is a guide for us, both an assessment of where we've been, but also a guide to lead us to success. And we're looking forward to getting there in 2030 or even sooner as we move this work forward. As you know, there's been a lot of disruption, but we remain singularly focused on talent development, and we know that there's significant work that has occurred and that must continue to happen to advance this work. So, Dr. Denley, I will turn it over to you to share the update.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so as the commissioner shared, we've been about this work for 3 years, and it is enormously important that as we recognize the work that happens, to recognize who it is who does the work. That we here at the Board of Regents, as hard as we work in the work that we do not graduate students. It is our institutions who graduate students. And so recognizing that it takes a team, it takes all of the efforts across all of the parts of higher education to meet the aims of this goal is incredibly important. And I want to take a point of personal privilege to say, again, a huge thank you to the leaders of the 4 systems for all of the work that they do in leading the work at their institutions on a day-to-day basis to achieve what's already been achieved and what I know we will partner together to achieve still. we know the goal. The goal is 85,000 students each year who are awarded credentials. But as we recognize that goal in 2030, it is also incredibly important that we recognize the journey that will take us there. Because as much as it's important that we recognize that eventual destination, along the way, it's important to know where we are and how we go. Because the reality is that to get to that 85,000, and it surely will not be a straight line. It's going to be some awkward-looking curve. Along the way, each of those additional students over and above our traditional steady state of 40-something thousand, each of those students will be part and parcel of that 60% that we need across our state. And so recognizing that across those coming years, I want you to remember a new number. Not that 85,000, yes, we need to have that in our minds, but it is the 180,000 additional completers that we need to engage and to reach out and to enable to have the post-secondary attainment that we desire for them. That's what our deliverable is all about. And so how do we get to that 180,000 additional completers across our state? This is the picture. The picture to do it is a threefold picture, that on the one hand, we need to radically increase college going for our population here in Louisiana. That we need to increase college going for our high school students. And at our last meeting, you took an audacious step in creating a first-in-the-nation approach to students who take early college experiences, that in and of itself being a pathway into college. You, over these last years, have taken all kinds of actions to deepen and encourage students to be part of early college experiences, and those are enormously powerful. But it is not only traditional age students that we need to reach to meet our goal. Just as Dr. Sullivan said earlier, it is adults too, who we need to re-engage, engage perhaps for the first time in all of the kinds of credentials that we need for them to be part of. And that is the other part of the mirror image of the increased college going, is also to make sure that we recognize all of the diversity of qualifications that are part of post-secondary attainment. Yes, we need people who have bachelor's degrees and master's degrees and doctoral degrees and associate's degrees, but we also need people who have technical diplomas and all kinds of industry-based certifications. We know that this is what it is that is in need all across our state in all kinds of different disciplines. And so for the first time now, counting and recognizing all of those credentials as part of our credential portfolio is an important next step, as well as recognizing those students who have already done all that they need to achieve the credentials that we would like to, but we don't have the mechanisms right now that puts all of that together to allow us to make that award. So adding the mechanisms around reverse transfer so that all of our students who achieve the attainment we would like really are recognized and given the credentials that they have earned. And then lastly, but perhaps most importantly, making sure that when they come to our institutions that we do everything that we can to support their success, increasing not only college going as a door, but college success when they come to us is just an enormously important part of that overall picture for us to meet our pathway to 2030. And so that is the picture that will take us there. That overall, that 180,000 students, a combination of increased college going, increased college success, and a broader portfolio of new degrees, that is the journey that will take us to our eventual goal. So that's the pathway that I'd like to present to you, sir.
Thank you so much. I know we got the opportunity to engage for about an hour and a half earlier. I'm assuming that there aren't any further questions, but if there are statements, by all means. No? Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Denley. Appreciate you. Obviously, I sent you a message right before the meeting, but it excites me to hear you talk about this. Every time I told Regent Solomon, I'm excited that we have somebody in you and obviously in the entire team who are very excited and confident in our ability to get there. Obviously, when the commissioner recruited you, I know when she communicated with me, she recruited you with the mentality that you were going to be able to help us do things that we had not done before. And obviously, as we pursue this 60 by 30, we're pursuing something that we haven't done before, but that we realize is extremely necessary. When you look at the fact that we're at, I think it was 48.1 or 48.7 compared to 51.9, or really right at 52. So we're about 4% behind, right? For us to be able to get to 60%, I don't know exactly where that puts us in relation to the country. I would like to know, but it puts us a lot better than 48 and a half, right?
Exactly right.
So that's very extremely worthwhile. And I think I would not be remiss in speaking for everyone if I said that we would all be very excited if when we exited this board, we were in some small part a part of making, helping that to be something that is happening in our state. So thank you for what you're doing. Thank you all for everyone working with him on making that a reality.
Thanks so much.
Next, we're going to vote on all the committee reports and recommendations together. But, of course, as always, if any board member wishes to take something up separately, we can do that. Is anyone wanting to take anything up separately? Great. Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve? I did give time for y'all to answer, right? Okay. Approve all committee, and what I love to say, in globo. Motion. Thank you, Regent Sterling. Second. Thank you, Regent Meir. Any discussion? Any questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and the motion passes. Thank you so much. And now for our comments by the commissioner. Ma'am.
Thank you so much, Chair Temple. This has been a fantastic day and a half, great policy conversation. Really appreciate all of the good work. I'll start with the over the moon conversation. I had an opportunity to go to the first attempted Artemis launch. The best part of going to Cape Canaveral was seeing the students from Nunez Community College who are in the aviation program talking to astronauts and talking about their programs. Just an amazing experience. We had a Louisiana delegation. As you all may know, NASA Michoud is the pathway into space. They build the rockets and the Orion capsule right outside of New Orleans. And so just really happy to be a part of the Louisiana delegation. They're still working on getting Artemis launched, but very excited about it. And as the astronaut said, we find it, we fix it, we fly it. So we have no doubts that they will absolutely successfully launch. But it was great to have our students and our chancellor and others from Louisiana there for the attempted launch. Next, speaking of launches, Tristan mentioned that Louisiana is one of 20 states that have been selected to participate in the Launch Year Initiative focused on math pathways for all of the K-12 to higher education community. So we know this will be important when we talk more about meaningful math, rigorous math, and how do we align that to courses and aptitude and interests of students moving forward. So Tristan will keep us posted on that. We are heading to DC for the Endless Frontier Symposium by the National Academies. I'll be moderating a panel with scientists talking about how to discover the right talent mix for technical and science workforce for today and tomorrow. And so I'm looking forward to the conversation. I believe the scientists on our panel are from MIT, University of California, and Duke, but really looking forward to a discussion about how do we better diversify, expand opportunities, and really thinking about the science of the future and what does that talent look like.
I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt right here. This is off, but I just want I want us to be aware of what she just said, okay? And what I'm saying is, she is moderating a panel, right, with someone from MIT and then other places, right? Okay, not belittling the other places, but she's the one that's moderating the panel, right? And they're flying her up there to do that, right? I just think that once again, and we cannot miss when greatness is in our midst just because we're around it all the time. I just want to make that point, okay? Y'all, let's just be aware.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate that. And really appreciate the opportunity to do this work. As you all know, I love this work and greatly appreciate doing it on behalf of the Board of Regents. The last item is good news. You may have seen this article that Louisiana is 17th in the nation in keeping our college graduates in state. We're very proud of that. The governor, in his comments, said we will not rest at number 17. I do think that the information Tristan presented today in collaboration with the systems around the alignment of new academic programs to workforce requirements or workforce needs will help us further keep our graduates in Louisiana. And so really looking forward to that as we think about the education to employment pipeline and our big vision for talent development in our state. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I conclude my remarks with great appreciation.
Right. So, is there any other business? Turned it off. Any other business to come before the board? Anyone? Okay. Members, our next board meeting, as we mentioned earlier, will be hosted at Delgado Community College, and the date of that, for that two-day meeting, will be October 18th and 19th. I really hate to tell you, I will be celebrating my wife's birthday in Aruba. I don't hate to tell you that, but that's the reason I will not be present. But like I said, we're in great hands with Regent Solomon that will take the lead. So any public comments? Okay, hearing none. Do I have a motion to adjourn? There you go, Regent Finley, and second by Regent Perez. Any discussion, any questions? All those in favor by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Lunch is in the other room. Thank you all.